The following podcast is being brought to you by the Defy Life Podcast Network.
Welcome to Aftergate, powered by the Defy Life Network.
Are y'all ready?
Aftergate is a podcast series highlighting Colgate alumni of color in their professional endeavors aftergate.
Are y'all ready?
Aftergate is hosted by Alvin Glimpf, aka Al, and Herman Dubois, aka Jerry.
Are y'all ready?
We are doing Aftergate because Colgate University has produced innovators who have changed the world every day, yet many alumni of color and the mainstream Colgate community are unaware of the amazing accomplishments of alums of color.
Are y'all ready? Welcome. This is another episode of Aftergate Season 2. What's going on, everybody? This is your boy, Alvin Glimpf, and as always, I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Herman Dubois, and we are here with the podcast known as Aftergate. So let me, without further ado, bring my brother in. Mr. Dubois, what's going on, my man? How you doing?
Good, brothers. It's been a little minute, but feeling good, feeling blessed.
Right.
Excited to connect with you once again. Always looking forward to meeting our illustrious EEOC folk, and so with no exception, we should just jump right in and see who we got on deck. And,
well, let's keep it real, because it has been a few weeks since we released the show, and there are people who I'm sure hearing this show, it's been a little rhythm of every week, but the reality is it's the summer. People have vacations, people trying to keep themselves well, and we believe in that, right? It's all about wellness and taking care of yourself. So please understand, as we have been on a little break, hopefully everybody else has been doing their own self-care, but that's what this has been all about, as we have taken some time to manage and make sure we are at our best capacity. So for those who don't know, Aftergate is a podcast that interviews alumni of color from Colgate University. It's all about uplifting their accomplishments post-graduation, all right? Because we know Colgate has produced some amazing people. So that's what Aftergate is all about. Now, because we know, we have a guest that I'm fairly, I think I met her in June, so kind of new, but I'm hoping that she's going to broaden our network and expose us to some of her peoples. So I had to get that introduction now, because we might get some new listeners this episode. That being said, is it okay, my man, to introduce our guest for this week?
Yes. Let's rock.
Let's rock. Aftergate, my listeners, my peoples, can we officially introduce Miss Christine Dibble, class of 1985, to the Aftergate podcast?
Hello. Now, I heard you say that the premise of this podcast was to interview Colgate alumni of color.
Yes.
Therefore, I guess you'll have maybe 30, 35 episodes, and then that's it.
Wow. Okay. Listen, I just met this sister in June. She has an amazing sense of humor. So I'm looking forward to this conversation, because I definitely appreciate my time with her. We got thousands of AOC around the world, my sister. Thousands. I know there was just 7 on campus when you were there. I get it.
Okay.
But at this point,
that's a perfect point. If I may intro, I'm sorry, brother.
Go ahead.
Because whether it was part of the subculture at Colgate or part of the impact of going through culture shock at Colgate, it just clearly demonstrates, and we've heard this confirmed numerous times from various alumni of color as well as administration, that we've done a poor job at maintaining contact and communication with just each other and the university. And why the podcast has been so instrumental is that we did some informal data collection and realized that if you count back to when there was the first class of alumni of color to current class of, let's say, 2022 that just completed this spring, there are literally thousands of alumni of color that are in this world, in the universe, and we are only touching a very small percentage of them through the platform. But we are always astonished with not only the story and the journey and the accomplishments, but the fact that there's such a consistent theme of this disconnect, of this people in silos. And I don't want to get too much into the depth of that because a wise man once said, "Don't do the podcast before the podcast." So we're going to talk a little bit about maybe why that exists. But when we as a community don't even know how many of us are out there doing things that just from a celebration perspective is awesome, but from a true networking perspective, from a business perspective, from a social political perspective, we got some leverage. We got some leverage, and we're just helping to connect the dots. So, the point is that there are some Colgate folks that I'm sure you stay in touch with that we don't, and probably don't know about Aftergate, and that there may be one or two more folks that may be on in your seat in a couple of weeks just as a result of you sharing with us. So we thank you in advance.
Thank you in advance.
I already know one person who's planning on I talked to her the other day who's planning on signing up. So
Okay, I like it. I like it. I like it. So, in true fashion of Aftergate, we like to just, for the record, for our listeners, just get it out there and open. Do we know this person? How do we know this person? Because some conversations, we are meeting the person for the first time. In this conversation, Jerry's meeting you for the first time. I met you at this past June's Colgate's reunion.
right.
And so, just for our listeners, it was awesome. Brother Garfield, who has been an amazing advocate for this podcast, even before he was a guest, he's been an amazing advocate and champion and made sure that we connected in. So, as I shared, again, didn't spend, all weekend with you, but my little opportunities to interact with you. I know you have one hell of a sense of humor, but no, I really am looking forward to hearing your story and hearing more about it. So just wanted to get that out in the open so folks know we are learning at the same time as they learning about you as well.
Okay, all right. Well, now, when did you all graduate?
So we are both class of 1991. So we did not cross
Pass. All right.
on the campus. So you graduated in 1985 from Colgate, put you in the class of 1981 from high school, right? Around that time? Okay. So for those who are listening, can you do us a favor and kind of set the context of what 1981, 1980s like in the world? What is it like in your world? Kind of give us a sense of what the world is like for you and broader before you get to Colgate.
In 1981, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay.
We lagged a little. We weren't as far behind as the South, but not much better. So St. Louis in that time was still a little segregated, some self-segregation, but that was because of you knew that you weren't welcomed. It was pretty clear that you weren't welcomed. I went to a high school that started off pretty much all white. By the time I got there, it was maybe 50-50, but by the time I graduated, it was probably 80% Black, 20% not. And fortunately, I came from a family who valued education because they did not have great expectations for us at my high school. I remember when I was applying to colleges, I was telling the guidance counselor where I was applying to, and he was like, "Well, why are you applying to those schools? You're not going to get in." So I was so grateful and happy when I could go to him and say, yeah, I'm going to Colgate on a full ride. Thank you very much. So that's sort of where I was coming from in 1981.
So how did you even hear about Colgate in St. Louis?
I would go to these college fairs with my mother, and we had gone to a college fair, was walking around looking at the brochures and stuff. And she said, "Oh, this school looks pretty here, apply here." So I did. I had no idea about anything about Colgate. I'd never even heard of Colgate University. But I knew I wanted to get as far away. I was either going to go to school on the West Coast or the East Coast. I knew I wanted to get as far away from St. Louis as possible. And Colgate was it. I didn't get a chance to go up there beforehand to view the campus or anything. So my first experience with Colgate was Subfrosh Summer. I don't even know if they call it Subfrosh Summer anymore, but that's what we called it.
So the scholars program is probably how it was. By the time we get there, it's called the scholars program. I'll just say that. So what was that like? Just give sense of that summer. What's that summer like for you?
We were talking about, because I came to the reunion back in June with my two best friends who I met at Colgate, Sylvia Hebron and Janine Davidson Walker. And we were talking about, Sylvia didn't do Subfrosh Summer. Janine and I did. And we were talking about how we were so happy that we had that experience because you had friends right away. You pretty much bonded with people right away so that it prepared you for September when the whole campus came back and you didn't feel as isolated and alone. Subfrosh Summer was great. I made a lot of good friends that summer. I connected with a lot of the professors because some of the professors who taught during Subfrosh Summer were also professors during the regular school year. And it just helped me to integrate not only into the Colgate life, but also, like I said, I came from St. Louis. Everything was pretty much black or white. I had spent, for the most part, my entire life up to that point around all Black folk, so it helped me meet other people, and not just other white people, but Hispanic people, Asian people, all different kind of peoples from different cities with different cultural backgrounds. So that was a good thing too.
If I can interject, you mentioned that you appreciated that summer because it allowed you to build some relationships before the fall started. Was that a post, graduate type of recognition when you look back, or were you feeling that excited about having to come up that summer after your senior year before college started? To be up there and wonder, why y'all messing with my summer? And I'm trying to work and make some money, or you were ready to go?
I was ready to go. I was ready to go. I was happy to be there. I was very nervous. I was afraid at first, but I was so fortunate. My roommate Subfrosh Summer was this girl named Zarel. And Zarel was like super outgoing. I'm a little bit more reserved. She was, well, at least I was then. She was super outgoing. So we clicked right away. Because she was so outgoing, a lot of people gravitated towards her. Consequently, they gravitated towards our room. So I made a lot of friends that way. And I didn't, when at the end of the Subfrosh Summer, we had a break. I went home. After like 2 days, I was like, okay, when is it time to go back? Because I'm ready to go back.
Wow.
Yeah.
So timeline wise, in terms of Colgate's allowing bringing women on campus, you're about a decade after the first class of women coming on campus. So just how do you notice it then? Like, is that a big thing at the time? Like that, or are they still adjusting? Just curious how.
For me, the bigger thing was race.
Yeah.
It was more, I think, of an adjustment for me as a Black person than it was for me as a woman, and even a Black woman. I felt that more once I got to law school, being a female. But at Colgate, no, it was more my race.
Gotcha. Where'd you live? Remember what dorms?
My first year.
Wait. Start with the summer.
The summer, we lived in, I think, like Bryant, Cutton. Which one had the dining room?
Cutton was closer to Broad Street.
The gymnasium. Across from the gymnasium.
Okay, I think we were in Cutton because we had to walk up a bunch of stairs.
Oh no, that would probably be
Bryant.
Cutton is
A little lower down.
Right.
Okay, well then it was Bryant. So
Okay.
we lived in Bryant subfrosh summer, and then first year, Stillman, is that a
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I lived in Stillman. I'll never forget that dump. My first year, first of all, we had a bat problem. So there was a bat that flew into our dorm room. We called security. They came up and they were like, "Well, what do you expect us to do?" And they left. So one of the students who played lacrosse, she put her on her lacrosse gear and got the bat out. And then it was also a dorm that was noted for just the Amityville horror number of flies. I mean, they were everywhere. It was disgusting. So I don't know if they have renovated that place and need to tear it down or what, but it was horrible. And then it was the old-fashioned dorms where everybody had to shower in the same place, everything. I hated that place. And then the second year, and then I had an interesting roommate. So, but luckily she was in her boyfriend's room most of the time, so I didn't have to deal with that. And then the second year, I think I moved down to Cullen. Yeah.
Cutting. Okay.
Cutting. And that was nice. And that's when, we figured out how to work the housing system. So me and my close friends, we figured out how to make it so that we were all in that same little pod area together.
Sweet.
Yeah. Same little suite, right?
Yep. Any extracurricular activities? Were you part of any organizations? Did you work? What was that like?
Yeah, it seemed like all I did was work because I had no money coming in from home. So my first year, I worked at the mailroom, and then my second year, I worked in the mailroom, and then my second year, I was able to talk my way into working at the cultural center. That's when Nacio Giles' wife, Jane, she was the director of the cultural center then, and she went to bat for me to get me on because they wanted to put me somewhere else. So I worked there, and then I also worked at the Career Student Center. So I had 2 jobs for the rest of my time at Colgate. I always worked 2 jobs.
Okay.
And then one year I tried to do 3 because I was doing that, the Career Services Center. And then I was also working for one of the science professors as like a research assistant or something, but it just got to be too much. So, but I always kept my job at the cultural center. I love that place.
Same here.
Oftentimes when we talk about the transition that students have, obviously the usual commentary around sort of race comes up, in this case, race and gender, since it was so close to the transition to make Colgate co-ed. What about academically? And did you find that were you prepared? Did you come out of high school? What type of student were you? Did it make a difference at Colgate? Share with us a little bit about that transition.
No, I wasn't prepared. I mean, I graduated from my high school first in my class, but the level of my high school was not the same as a lot, especially it wasn't the same as a lot of other students. So I had to, but I was very fortunate in that subfrosh summer when I would have difficulty with a subject, for instance, math. There was always somebody there who had my back, one of the other, students of color. So they would either coach me through it, but, made sure that I got through what I needed to get through. Other classes I didn't have a lot of difficulty with, but I did have to work on improving my writing skills because that was definitely not emphasized in my high school at all. We were not prepared for college level classes at all. So I was sort of playing backup once I got to Colgate. I really was. But I will have to say that, you can have a lot of criticisms about Colgate, but one of the things that I do appreciate is the smallness of the university, so that I got to know my professors really well. And when I was struggling, for the most part, when I was struggling, I didn't feel any prohibition, any inhibition with going to them and asking them for help and getting really good help and a lot of encouragement.
What did you major?
I majored in religion with a minor in English, but I made the mistake of because I figured I wanted to go to law school after I graduated from Colgate. And, it's not like pre med where you have to take certain science classes, but I figured, well, I need to take English. So I started off as an English major, hated it. It was just because I was had to take all those all those Jane, whatever her name, Jane Austen, and I mean, I just wasn't into that. And Walt Whitman, I had an English professor who was obsessed with that man, and I thought that was the boringest stuff. But then so I said, my mother was like, Christine, this is your one chance that you'll probably have in your adulthood to do what you like, do what you love. So find a major that you love and forget about worrying about what you need to take for law school. And I'd always been interested in religion. And once I started taking religion classes, it was almost effortless. My grades improved, everything. I really enjoyed my classes. So, and then since I had taken so many classes in English, I just kept that as a minor.
I'm a religion major as well, so I can definitely relate to that. I get you on that, Chip. When you look back at your time at Colgate over those 4 years, what would you classify as accomplishments, highlights, thing that you're really proud of?
Well, the thing of graduating for one,
Hello.
but I think my biggest accomplishment was making two really good lifelong friends.
Hey.
Yeah, that was probably the best thing that ever, especially as you get older and you realize how much support you needed, how much support you have. That was really the biggest accomplishment I think I made.
Okay. You didn't mention any extracurriculars. So were you involved in any organizations, any?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time remembering I'm sorry, I'm having senior moments here. I know I did some acting while I was at Colgate.
Okay.
Theater.
Yeah, I did some theater stuff while I was Colgate. I know I didn't do any sports stuff at all. I don't know, throw out some things. I know I did do what was the gospel choir called?
Sojourners.
Sojourners. I did that for like a semester.
Okay.
A lot of my time, though, I did mostly the most curricular activity I did was acting, but a lot of my time was taken up with work.
Gotcha. If my timeline is right as well, HRC was formed while you were on campus. Like, so is it before you get there or while you are there?
I think it was while I was there.
Okay.
Remember, yeah. But I don't think the actual build, I think now they're relegated to a corner, but before I left, I think they had like almost a whole building by the time I left. I think it started off with maybe a floor and then it advanced to a bigger building. Yeah.
Okay.
So you never lived there during.
I never lived there.
Gotcha.
I'm curious if you recall on being on campus. Was it something that was well received? Was it something that there was a lot of objection to? What was there excitement about it? Because it seemed like I would have thought it would have been a big deal. By the time we got there, it was pretty much a staple housing unit on campus, and if you were a student of color, you wanted to be there.
Right. That's why I was so surprised at its devolution. But when I was there, everyone was excited about it. But not only that, if I recall correctly, we had a lot of support from the university itself. So that's why I was just so baffled by what has happened to it. I don't understand.
Yeah, I think, it's just a lot of speculation. A lot of people don't understand, right? And I think over the years since we were on that campus, I think it's a lot of factors, but we're gonna have to get some folk who was there during that time to kind of share what happened to the devolution of HRC. But on that
Yeah.
note, we're gonna take a pause right here to allow our sponsor to get some shine. We'll come back to finish up this conversation with Christine Dibble. So, this episode is sponsored by Hope Murals. Hope Murals is a nonprofit that provides adolescent youth with an interactive experience of creative expression via an urban arts platform that stimulates both mental and physical development. Please visit their website at www.hopemurals.org to learn more and find ways you can support the work they do. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. We are here with our guest this week, Christine Dibble, and we are so excited to follow up and complete this conversation. But before we do that, we want to make sure we thank our sponsor, Hope Murals. We greatly appreciate all that Hope Murals is doing to expose our youth to urban arts. And when I tell you they are knocking it out the park, trust me, they are killing it this year in terms of all of their projects and helping our youth be better people. And look forward to more and more amazing things that Hope Murals is doing. Check them out at hopemurals.org to learn more about this organization. Make sure while you're on their website, drop a donation while you're there as well. If you are interested in being a sponsor, make sure you check us out at aftergatepodcast@gmail.com and make sure you show our network some love. The Defy Life Network at www.godefylife.com. You can find some real dope, interesting, and empowering, relevant written content on that website. You can also find some dope podcasts on that podcast hub. So if you want to check out Aftergate on their hub, you can find us at defylifepods.com. But you can also find Aftergate on all of your major podcast streaming services. So wherever you go to find your favorite podcast, Aftergate, one word, is there. Make sure you show them some love. And if you really want to be about it, go get some branded apparel at defylifegear.com. That being said, I'm gonna pass the mic to my co-host and let him bring us back in.
Want to just jump into a subject matter that is near and dear to my heart, especially after recently traveling to Mexico and having an opportunity to see the world again. I feel like it's been about 4 or 5 years on my part with COVID and all, and I'm almost afraid to say as we transition back to normalcy because we'll never be normal again after that 2 year ordeal. And now you've got this concern and outbreak of monkeypox going on, and it's just kind of I begin to thinking, is this a conspiracy theory? Is it a way to sort of create greater value in travel for those who don't have travel access, who have limited travel opportunities? Is it a part of raising costs for travel to just make more money, good old-fashioned capitalism? I find myself looking at parts of the world that are not your destination locations just to see if I can get away and get off the grid. But I'm curious to hear your take on the whole, not only travel industry, but in particular around, some of your travel experiences. Where would you recommend going? Where would you recommend not going, and why? What's when you travel? What do you look for? What do you aspire? Where do you aspire to go, and why? I think people travel for different reasons, and my little travel bug has been reawakened as I just returned, and I'm trying to get some stamps on this passport. So any advice and any recommendations would be greatly appreciated.
Well, for me, it depends on how I am feeling. If I'm tired, I want to go someplace where I just can chill and relax. And I have to say, I hear a lot when people, especially these travel shows, the travel gurus and the hosts and stuff, and they're always like, well, I want to go someplace and I don't want to be like a tourist. I want to live like the people who live there. Well, I don't. When I travel, I want to live like the richest person that I can imagine, because when I come back home, I'm going to be broke and poor as heck. Okay. So I want to be luxurious. Some of the best places I went, which is maybe not politically correct right now, but one of the most interesting places I went was with a group of Black female attorneys, and we went to Dubai. And that was my first time ever experiencing the Middle East. And it was just eye-opening in terms of the cultural differences. Because in the past, I had, traveled to Italy and France and London, places like in the Western world where even though the language may be different, there's differences in culture, but it's still a familiarity there. Um, and then when I went to my last trip before the pandemic broke out was to Egypt and Jordan.
Mm.
And that was really an eye-opening experience. I didn't see not one McDonald's or Taco Bell there. So it was like totally different. We're on the highway and we're seeing cars and buses and donkeys and horses and people walking and on ricochets, and it's all together. It was just a really difference. And Leroy Potts, I was talking to him because every year me and friends try to find a different place to go. And he was trying to convince us to go to Cambodia. I have never done Asia. And quite frankly, I have to say that I've never quite been interested in Asia because I always got the impression of just being hot, a lot of people, and it's far. But he really talked it up. So who knows? Maybe I'll get there. But that's what I look for in a vacation. It depends on how I feel, but I definitely look for luxury. Sorry. And I look for something different. And I also like, more so than just the beach, I like going places where there is culture. That's why I like to go to Rome and, to places where there's a lot of history and stuff to see. And I tend to like the smaller or the mid-sized cities better than the larger cities. So like Seville.
What's your do you have a dream destination that's just on your bucket list before you check out?
Israel. I want to go to Israel, and I would like to go to, I don't know if I'm gonna get there. I would love to go to South Africa and then do a safari. So,
South Africa is amazing. I definitely have been to like 2% of all the cities that you done named already, but I can say I have been to Cape Town. And without a doubt, the most fascinating, interesting, beautiful place I've ever been to in my life. Like hands down, hands down.
how long was and that's another thing I hate flying. How long was the flight?
So it was altogether about 20, 22 hours. Like 14, we about 8 or 9 to get to Amsterdam. We spent a couple of days there, and then from there, 14 to get from Amsterdam down the continent to the bottom.
Not too bad if you break it up.
Yeah. And the thing is though now, places that I like, for instance, South Africa that I would love to go to, even Australia, but with COVID, that's always a consideration, wondering whether or not, and even though you said you think that you're wondering whether or not this COVID stuff is a conspiracy with the travel industry, I'm thinking it may be a second form of, you remember how the Lord rained plagues up on land? We got the COVID, then now we got the monkeypox. Who knows what's going to be next? I'm telling you now, it's a virus that's going to wipe us all out, and maybe sooner rather than later. By the way, I am from St. Louis, and we're really, really big on conspiracy theories.
And a religion major. Put all that together. Say less. So we're gonna transition from the world's gonna end due to lizard pox and talk about
the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Oh no, go ahead.
Maybe. I was gonna say your journey from Colgate graduating to where you are now. All right, do what you need to do. But really, we would love to kind of hear your journey from how did you get from you graduated in 1985 to being the amazing woman that you are now? You mentioned law school, but really kind of walk us through some of those points.
So, I mean, after I left Colgate, I knew I wasn't going to go right to work, but I had to do something. I really actually wanted to go to theology school, get my doctorate in theology, and become a professor at a university and teach theology. But, coming from a family who didn't really know a whole lot about that, they were like, what are you gonna do? Sit on a soapbox and preach? What kind of job is that? So back up playing law school. I ended up at University of Michigan Law School, and once again, I had support and help from my Colgate buddies because after my first year, I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. I hate it. It's horrible, blah, blah, blah. And one of my best friends from Colgate, talked me off a ledge, got me back to law school. Thank God she did. And I finished after law school. I did a short stint as a public defender in New York. And then went to, I did another short stint as an attorney with a labor union in Detroit. I also did a stint as a attorney with the Department of Housing and Urban Development. I ended up at the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission as an administrative judge. And from there, I went to the Social Security Administration as an administrative law judge. Hated it. And then I finally got my dream job where I am currently as an administrative law judge with the National Labor Relations Board. And as a result of all of that, I'm finally back home in Kansas City because it took me from New York to Detroit to Chicago, Atlanta, Indianapolis, and somewhere else. I was in Chicago twice. New York. Yeah, New York. So that's my journey. That in the short story.
Short story. Why did you refer to this as your dream job? What's so awesome, amazing about this
I
position?
like the subject matter, labor, because I preside over administrative trials with private sector parties, uh, union related matters. For instance, when the Major League Baseball, they had the strike, we would do something like that. And there was an issue. So that, and then also I cover a specific territory, although now because our ranks have shrunken, we sort of just cover wherever we're needed. So I get to combine my love of travel too, but not on my own dime. And even though I like going to all these wonderful exotic places out of the country, there are a whole lot of awesome places right here in the United States.
Yes, there are.
Yeah, that I haven't been to. So I get to do that. And plus, I like the adversarial process more. At Social Security, it wasn't an adversarial process. It's basically people would come in and tell you, why they felt they were disabled. Well, here you have both sides represented by really great attorneys. So it's very interesting, fast paced, keeps you on your feet, and then you write your decision.
Should have got your take on the Deshaun Watson with the familiar with the Cleveland Brown quarterback at all? Like you looking at me like I'm looking like I was looking.
Well, you said that he's the one who has like the 22 women. Is that the one?
Yes. A little higher than that, but yes.
Yeah, because what I heard was that initially it was one, tried to get him to settle, he wouldn't, and then it just exploded from there, which I would say probably about 90% of our cases settle, and there's a good reason why.
Is that because you're saying people are guilty, or?
I'm just saying with the process, you just never know what might happen, especially if you have a jury. Even for instance, my cases are all bench trials. They come before me. I may have an idea of I'm going in this direction at the start of it, But as I'm listening to testimony, particularly as I'm looking at witnesses' credibility, that could, change like that.
Mhm.
You just never know. Sometimes it's better to cut your losses.
You're here. You're here. You're here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That was very interesting.
Yeah.
Question that we like to ask our guests really deals with perspective, right? So when you think about Christine as she's coming in to the campus, I'm curious to know what advice would you offer that 18-year-old, and then also the woman that is graduating from Colgate, what advice would you offer that person?
I would say for the person, the 18-year-old coming in,
Mm-hmm.
is to get yourself a strong support system. Develop some really, really good, strong friendships. And also, don't be afraid to go to your professors. I know that a lot of us at 18 don't have a whole lot of confidence, or as much as we'll get as we go on in life, but um, try to develop your confidence level as much as possible, and don't be afraid to speak up in class and push for what you want. Um, and then for the one who's graduating, and I know this is a what do you call a cliche. My mother told me this. I should have listened. It's true. Do what you love
Mm,
and not what you think is going to make you money or give you a comfortable life. Because if you do what you love, you never feel like you're working.
facts. I do have a quick question that popped in my head based on your answer just now. One of the things that I appreciate about the time that we was there was this sense that there were upperclassmen who were mentoring us as we came in. And then as we were leaving, we were mentoring some of those those students who were coming in behind us. I'm curious if you felt that that was happening while you were there as well. Like when you come on campus, were there students of color that were, hey, let me help you get through this? And then by the time you're leaving, you're offering some of that words of wisdom and support to the students that came behind you.
I think it was, but I don't. Um, I think it was, but I think I only realized it in retrospect.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when I was in law school, I could clearly see that happening because they actually had, which I think would probably be a good thing for Colgate too. I don't know if they have it, but they in law school, the Black Law Student Association had a formalized program set up. When you got there day one, they paired you with an upperclassman, and that was like your big sister.
Mm-hmm.
Women, they had paired you up with a woman. For men, they paired you up with another guy, and they paired you up with two people. So they do a tag team on you. And I remember that was so helpful because they took that role seriously.
Mm-hmm.
At Colgate, I know it happened, but it happened so informally that I don't really think about it. I don't really, but I know it happened.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, because while we didn't cross paths at the same time, there are definitely people who were our mentors or upperclassmen as we're getting on campus who would have been on campus while you were there that you would have known that we know. So we didn't know each other, but we definitely know some of the same people.
Now I'm gonna tell you who I do recall clearly mentoring me,
Mm-hmm.
or and I guess because they were so few and far between, were the African American professors that came on campus.
Okay, such
And
as.
uh, Manning Marable, was he still there
Mm-hmm.
when you were there? Him,
I mean, yeah.
Nacio, Nacio,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was Janelle. She was the assistant chaplain. I can't remember. I think it was Janelle Brown. Do you remember her, or was she gone by the time you guys got there?
Yeah, that name doesn't sound familiar.
And Professor Lewis Baldwin, he was in the religion department. You don't remember? Okay, he may have gone by the time you got there.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I kept in touch with him for years after. And I think Rich Rivera and Janine Daniels, they both had him as well. And I remember they kept in touch with him too long after he had left. Okay. So I remember. Now that I remember. They really did. Yeah. Yeah.
Last question is a opportunity for you to promote anything that you would like to share with our network. So it could be a website, it could be a nonprofit you want folks to support, it could be an initiative that you're part of, it could be a TV show that you want to get other people to watch. But my point is, here is a platform for you to share with the Aftergate community anything you would like.
Well, I don't really have any merchandise or any one particular thing to promote, especially since what I do. But I will say I am a huge, huge dog lover. And I do work here with different rescues in the area. And I would just say that these rescues do an awesome, awesome job. And if you could just, pick one rescue in your city, or even every city almost has a humane society. If it's not adopting a dog or giving money, they're always in need of just basics like paper towels and wipes and dog food, anything like that. That would be greatly appreciated. People, do wonderful things for people. They can speak. But dogs, they're helpless. They're totally dependent on us, and they give us unconditional love.
Here.
Jesus doesn't have to teach them about doing unconditional love. They just innately do it.
Nice. Do you have a pup?
I do. My mother's babysitting him for me because he has a huge mouth. Otherwise, he would be up here causing all kind of havoc. He's a rescue dog. I got him during the pandemic after my other rescue dog passed away. So I got him from the Humane Society. Big, big, big supporter of the Humane Society. So
we are dog lovers as well. Mine is a rescue. Not sure about yours, Jerry, but we definitely are dog lovers.
He's about to be a rescue.
I keep messing around. Oh, love it.
On that note, I do have to go walk this horrible dog who I love to death, but it's so mean to me. But I really, really enjoyed this. I am so happy I got an opportunity to do this.
On that note, I will say thanks to our amazing guests. Thank you to our listeners. As always, Aftergate is powered by the Defy Life Network. Make sure you check us out in the future. And remember that the Colgate we knew is not the Colgate of today. It is certainly not the Colgate of the future. Peace, family.
Shh. You hear that? Listen closer. That, my friend, is the deafening sound of focus. It drowns out all the useless noise that can clutter the moment. Naysayers don't exist. Haters? Smaters? The peanut gallery? Who's that? When you in your zone, all that noise and all that buzz is just elevator music. So, enjoy your journey, focus on your goal, and bask in the quiet roar that is progress. Because when it's your time to shoot that shot, spit that verse, or close that deal, the only voice that matters is yours. Defy Life.